Okay, everybody. How's everyone doing today? I had to do some last minute changes to my live stream setup. Um, I'll hopefully be able to troubleshoot that. One thing with this new setup, I don't have my cool little chat integration. So give me a second. I need to get the video up so that I can actually see the chat. 1 second. Gonna have to go old school on this one. Here. I can open the chat in a new window. I pop out chat. There we go. Okay. Sound and picture. Okay, good. If you're curious, for years I've been using a service called Restream, and essentially I stream from my laptop, from my desktop to Restream, and then Restream then broadcast that out to YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Um, and I use a app called Wirecast locally that does that, or it connects to Restream. Now, for some reason, as you probably remember, the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've had like some really bad connection issues. So I pinged Restream today. I thought I'd test before, since it's happened multiple times now. I was like, let me do some tests before I actually start the live stream this time. And still having the same issues. So contacted their support. They're looking into it. But for today, I'm streaming directly to YouTube. And as of right now, it looks like it's solid. So I don't know. Maybe this will be the new norm and we'll just forget about streaming to Facebook or Twitter. So anyway, I do like their little chat app though. It was kind of nice, but I think I can live without it. Okay. Um that was fun. I've been like for 30 minutes. I've been struggling to get that to work, stressing myself out. And but anyway, okay. Um, thanks for coming, everybody. Hi, Josh and Mr. Cole. David's here. Scott's here. Oh, we got Ryan here. Cool. All up. Chris is here, unfortunately. Get out of here, Chris. Jason, good to see you, bud. Peter, thanks for popping on. Excellent. Rion, sweet. Okay. Chat here is looks like it's frozen. Oh no, it's good. Okay. Toggles. Today I thought we would talk about Foundation 6 swatches. Actually, I have to give Scott heads up on that. I was like, what should I stream about today? And I was chatting with Scott, and he was like, "Hey, I think we should go back to the basics again with swatches, because based on some questions on the community, it seems like that would be a good call." And I can agree with that. Actually been noticing a lot more in the last week or two, a lot more like CSS answers, and I'm like, "Hey, yo, you can do this with a swatch. It's a little more user friendly, maybe." You don't need to have learn CSS, right? That's what kind of what swatches do for us. And so I thought it'd be fun to go back and kind of revisit swatches, talk about what they are, how they're organized, how you can use them. And so we don't need to figure out CSS. I mean, I'm not to say that CSS, obviously CSS is awesome. I know it very well. You can do a lot of stuff. You can't do everything with swatches. There are some things where even I'll be like, here, just put this snippet of CSS in there. It's just potentially simpler in a small percentage of the cases, rather than a swatch. But again, vast majority of the time, a swatch is perfect. I need to turn off my little space heater. It's heating me my behind a little bit too much. Getting a little hot back there. Woof, man. Okay. Okay. What are we doing? Man, I'm hungry. But anyway, let's go ahead and let's get some Rap Reaver going here. Or should I say Stacks Classic? Right? Okay. Voila. Okay, so let's I'm just gonna open up the demo file. My demo file. I think this is what we were working on last week, maybe. I don't remember. Let's go ahead and clear that out. Okay. Yeah, you guys can see it all in its glory. Let's maybe I'll talk about this. If you guys want, let me know in the chat whether or not you guys want me to talk about this little color slurp app later on. Okay, just close that for now though, so we can get this nice and big. I just realized my display didn't resize, so I apologize if everything's a little tiny today. And I have learned in the past that if I try to resize my desktop while I'm streaming, that is just a disaster. So, darn it, my little pre-stream automation didn't resize my browser window or my desktop resolution. Ugh, that is frustrating. Hold on, let's see how this is going to work out here. Let's see. What do I normally set it to? 1 second. Here, let me go ahead and I want to see if I can do this again. Ugh. $20.48. Okay, let's go. Let's give it a shot because I want you guys to be able to see this, and I don't want to have. Please. Now let's go out, back in. All right, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go like that. Out, back in. Okay. Does that screen look better now? Okay, cool. Excellent. It's a little blurry for me, but I can live with that as long as it's clear for you guys. Okay. Excellent. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Okay. Site styles. So here, let me go ahead and normally I have site styles, some various things turned off. And this is what you guys normally see in site styles. Yes. Yes, it seems better zoomed in. Yes, it does. Okay, cool. So in site styles, this is where pretty much all swatches reside. There are other ways. We'll talk about the swatches stack in a little bit. Okay, but site styles is a little bit nicer because there's some organization built into it. Okay. Now, I guess in site styles itself is kind of like one. It's kind of got some swatches baked into it. Okay. And you'll notice that these are component colors. Okay, and there's text colors, right? And so those are kind of baked into site styles so that we can define our default colors for various things within our site. So, for example, let's go through site styles default. Okay. I'll skip these settings, utility classes. We've talked about utility classes. If you know you're going to need them or not need them, chances are you can turn off this load extra classes. Okay. Most of the time, those aren't used by many people. It's on by default for backwards compatibility sake. Probably in a future update, I'll turn those off by default. But they are on by default on purpose, just for backwards compatibility. Okay. But if you know you're not using extra utility classes, meaning like utility classes like SM:W:, like all those media query specific ones. So utility classes that are specific to sizes. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But I have some posts in another live stream about that if you want to check that out. Okay. But most of the time, I'm going to say most people can turn this second checkbox off. Okay. All right. Site background. So here in the site background, by default, the site background is going to be white. It's actually like a slightly off white. It's not pure white. Okay. Um, it's almost indistinguishable from white, but there's some reasons for that, blah, 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 whatever. But if you want to change your site background color, this is where the best place to do that. Okay. So you can have a background color, you can have an image, you can warehouse your image, or you can have your own custom CSS. Okay. Such as if you wanted to do some sort of background gradient or something like that. Okay. You can do that. There's also, if you turn on this little plus button, there's some extra modes here, which doesn't really help you much with the color, but if you're doing background images and whatnot, you can go ahead and change those. I personally recommend like just sticking with something simple. Like, I'm not sure a background image works for many websites. Okay, normally you're gonna have a colored background, and then your content containers can have background images, right? But your site background color can change. Okay, so there we go. But most of the time, I'm fine with white. Okay, site sizing. Okay, so this is where we can define the maximum width of our content. So, this is kind of turning into a foundation basics, but it's okay. So let's just go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and add in a, let's do a text stack. Okay. And I'm just going to add in a bunch of lorem ipsum text just for fun. Okay. Just a bunch of text. And I'm going to put in one outside of a container and one inside of a container. Okay. And let's just preview that. And why did it preview it like that? Oh boy, it replaced my YouTube chat window. That wasn't very cool of you. How do I get that back? That is annoying. History. Ah, never had that before. Look at that. Back. And I can't even go back. That is brilliant. One second here. Let me get my YouTube chat back open. That was great. Get my chat, pop-up chat. There we go. Okay, got my chat back. Okay. All right, and I don't need this live stream. Okay. There we go. Okay, now I got my chat back, although I lost the history. It's all good. So in this example here, what we'll notice if I make my screen, my screen large, you'll see that the top one goes the full width of the browser window, where this bottom one is centered and it has a limit, right? Well, that limit is in site styles. It's this max width. Okay. Now you can make your site unlimited width. I'd recommend not. I mean, I guess there are some designs that works okay with, but most of the time you're going to want to have a maximum width on your content. Now, what defines the only stack in all of Foundation that obeys that max width setting is the container stack. Okay, I can have a one column in here. Okay, so I could have a one column and a container. Let's preview that, and it's the same thing. Okay, it's because it's the container that obeys that site width. And you can adjust that in a container. In the container settings there, if you notice here is there's sizing and it's site width plus gutter, site width. There's a few other full width options and whatnot. Okay. But by default, site width plus gutter is what the default behavior is. And that will obey that site width setting in site styles, and it will center it. So there we go. Okay, cool. So that's site sizing. Now Now we start going into some of our swatch style settings, inside site styles. Okay. And just for fun, just to show you, here we have site colors. Now these colors obey various things throughout foundation, right? It's like your default button color and your secondary color, right? And things of that nature, right? So also if we go to things like accordions, and here, let's just add a couple things in here. So I'm going to go ahead and add in, let's add in a button, right? So I'm going to go ahead and add in a button here. And then let's go ahead and add in like an accordion, right? Just for fun, we'll add an accordion there. Okay. No, not an accordion menu. I wanted an accordion container, which is this accordion. Okay. So we have an accordion, and let's just go ahead and add some items in there. Okay. And for fun, let's just add in some text. All right. I'm just going to add those right now. Okay. So we have an accordion and we have buttons. Now, if you notice in this button and the accordion, okay, you'll notice here that we have under styles for a button, we have various colors. So we can use primary, secondary, alert, success, and warning. Now, if you're familiar, you'll look at these labels and you will notice that in site styles, that's what those colors are, right? So when I set my button here to be a success button, well, guess what? It's the color of my success color inside site styles. Okay. And there are various other places that have, white, light gray, dark gray, or black colors used. Okay. And you can customize those. And then obviously text colors, right? So we have text colors for headers, which are H1s through H6s. We have subheaders, which in a header stack, there's a subheader checkbox. So you kind of have like an alternate color. Okay. Small, which is another part of headers. Okay. Then we have our default text colors and link colors and link cover. Okay. So, and those are all our default colors, right? Oh, and I forgot to show you accordion, right? An accordion, I guess, accordions just use, I should have used tabs. I forgot. Here, let's quickly just, that's fine. Oh, I have a template made up of tabs because tabs are kind of a laborsome thing to set up. So let's just go ahead and do tabs. Let's just add that. Boom. So we can see that really easily. Okay. And for tabs, let's, oops, don't edit. I just want to extract it. Okay, cool. So tabs here, you'll notice that there are some colors used. Okay. And it actually uses, I'm going to go ahead and just change this primary color to be something different for right now. Okay. Let's just change it to, all right, let's just pick something crazy. Boom. All right, let's make it purple. All right, so primary is now purple. Okay. And if you notice that, the tab text color here changed to purple, and actually would have been the same for accordion. Okay. But just to show you how component colors, now these are, if you notice, these are called component colors, and they're called that on purpose. Okay. And let's go ahead, like if I were to change the secondary color, let's make that a little bit darker gray. You'll notice that it doesn't change in edit mode, but these colors that are for component colors are used to color various components of foundation. That includes buttons and any sort of foundation component. If you look in these stacks, it says Foundation 6 components, right? So accordions, captions, cards, light boxes, all this stuff here, okay, uses the colors that are defined by default inside site styles. Okay. Now, if you notice, if you wanted to override the colors for a particular section of your site or a different thing, you can go ahead and add a component colors swatch. Okay. We'll get back to this in a little bit, but just notice that these colors are all the same thing inside this component color swatch. Okay. So again, that's why I said that this is like a swatch just baked into site styles. Okay. just because these are your default colors, and we can override those in the future with that component color swatch, which I won't dive into that hole yet. Okay. Text colors, same thing. If you notice under font and text, we have a text colors here, and we have header, subheader, small, link, cover, and text. If you notice, same exact colors. We can just override those for particular sections of the page. Now, there is a cool thing built in that kind of comes from Foundation 1 days called alternate text colors. Okay. And what that is let's go ahead and just simplify this content a little bit, and we'll just have just a text area again. Okay. If you notice, this says header.alt, subheader.alt. Okay. And these are all alternate colors. What is an alternate color? Well, if you notice, a lot of these color schemes are for white text, right? So by default, our headers are going to be black. Our text is going to be black. Link colors are going to be blue. But let's say I want to have an alternate section on my pages, because a lot of times if we're building like a traditional like banded website, we're going to have like a light section and a dark section and then a light section and then a dark section, right? So that's what this alternate colors are for. So you can create an alternate color scheme for text. And all you have to do is, let's say I go to a container, and we're going to type in our first class here. I'm just going to do this magic class called alt, A-L-T, okay? And what you'll notice here is this text became white. And that's because that's my alternate text color, okay? Now, to make it look a little bit better, I could just do BG black, which is a utility class, which I'm not going to go into right now, okay? But just to quickly make this background black, you can see now the alternate text color works on a dark background. Okay. All right. So that's kind of like for text, it's basically like having two text color swatches on our page. We just have one that is our default, and the other one is tied to an alternate class. Okay. So that is site colors, and there is text colors. We also have some stuff for like underlining. Do you want to underline your links or don't underline your links? So on and so forth. And then we have text sizing. Okay. And actually, you know what? I was thinking the other day, like, why don't I have a text sizing swatch? I think that was an oversight on my part. I think that would be cool. Have this this little section right here as a swatch. Could be cool. Maybe that will come in a future update. Okay. Can't believe I never thought about that before. But right now, only Site Styles has these options, and these are going to be your default options or your default text sizing for small, medium, and large. And you can do it for all your various headers, your text, and your buttons. Okay. Okay. So that's text sizing. And then we have some kind of outlier things, such as list styles. So if you're using bullet lists or numbered lists, these allow you to define what kind of little bullets are used. Okay, so do you want to have circles or discs or squares? And if it's a sub bullet list, what do you want to use, right? Same thing for numbered lists. And then list positions, that is do you want, by default, it's outside. So it'll actually put the bullets outside of your text versus inside of your text. So it's just like indenting your lists and whatnot. So just some list styles. And lastly, we have some, there is a global radius setting. Okay. And let me show you an example. There are various things such as you'll see some settings. Buttons it's probably the most prevalent. So we'll just add a button stack to the page really quick. Okay. And inside of a button, you'll notice that there is a feature called radius. Okay. And you can just turn it on and off. That's it. That's all you get. And there are various radius settings throughout several foundation stacks. Okay. And if you notice, what that does is it adds rounded corners to our button. Okay. This is a very subtle rounding. It's only a 3-pixel rounding. Okay. But all of these settings throughout foundation that use a radius option. Okay. That uses this global setting of radius. Okay. So if I were to set that to 10, you'll notice now that this button has a much more rounded look to it. Okay. Now this is powerful because I can kind of globally change and control these settings, right? So if I decide, you know what, my rounded corners, I want them more rounded, right? We can just utilize this global radius setting, which is really, really cool. Okay. And if you want, here's a little maybe power user tip. Let's say I want to have a container, okay, and I'm just going to quickly give it a black background. Okay, here let's just we're going to do that. What we did, we're going to do Alt and then BG black. Okay, just so we could see it. Okay, if I just have there's a class. If I just do radius. Okay, well, you'll notice I now have that global radius on here, right? Pretty cool. Okay, it's just a class. I can just use the class radius. And then if I go into here and I change this to be back to 3 pixels, you'll notice that that radius changed on the button and it changed on my container. Pretty cool, right? So super useful. And the reason that's great is because you don't want to have some things on your site have like a radius that's large and some are small, because then your design is going to look inconsistent. Okay. And foundation is all about making sure that we are consistent and we don't repeat ourselves. Okay. The dry principle, right? So that, years ago when we didn't have things like Foundation 6, we would have to add round corners on everything individually. And if you ever wanted to change that, you'd have to go to everywhere, and then things get out of sync and it's just horrible, right? So being able to control our styles centrally is super powerful. Okay. So yeah, there's the global radius. Next is if you don't like the default gutter settings that I have throughout various foundation layout stacks, columns and whatnot, this allows you to change the size of the gutter between the columns. So there we go. Sweet. Wish I got a glass of water before I started. Okay. Let me go in the chat. Was there anything I missed? Please go ahead, and if you have questions or you want me to stop and clarify some things, go ahead and let me know in the chat, and I'll make sure that I address those before we end today. Okay. Okay. So that went over site styles. Now let's talk about the rest of site styles and its swatches. So you'll notice that swatches are broken up into different features, right? By the way, I'm going to go ahead and in site styles, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to turn off the color palettes just to save us some space in edit mode. Okay. Another thing before I turn it off is this display chart. Okay. You might be wondering, why is this chart in the back of my site styles? Okay. Well, that is a great question. That's because a lot of times, Foundation has standard spacing sizes across all of its swatches and utility classes. I'm not going to go into utility classes today. I've used a couple of them. I have videos specifically on those. Go check them out. But they use these standard sizings, okay? And a lot of times it's hard to know, like, what does 64 pixels look like? What does 120 pixels look like? 128 pixels, right? So it's I know we can kind of know it relatively, but I wanted to give us a place and a location to visually see what 48 pixels is. Okay. So like, for example, let's just pick, let's say, a margin swatch. Okay. And you'll notice that in the margin swatch, we have 1, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 20, in the negative and positive versions of all of these numbers. And the reason this chart is here is that you can visually see which of these options you want to pick. So that you're just not guessing. You can look at this chart and be like, you know what? I want about this much margin on my container or on my card, right? So I can go ahead and say, let's say I want 64. Okay. I can go ahead and say, call this black container. Okay. Give it a class here. I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and do I'm going to do a margin. Let's say padding. I'm going to change this to a padding swatch really quick so we can kind of play around. So I'm going to do a padding. And I'm going to jump in here and do a class. I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Bear with me. And I'm going to do 64 because we visually saw 64 here. And then I'm going to go ahead and put that class on this bad boy right now. And voila. So we saw that size and boom, that's what I wanted. Now maybe when we add this to this, we go, you know what, that's a little much. Maybe we go down to like, 48, right? And you go, oh, okay, yeah, that's good, right? So we can kind of play around and see things all directly within edit mode. Okay, I jumped ahead a little bit. I just wanted to show you why we had this sizing chart, and why it's there. And you can also just go ahead and turn it off. And I I personally like to turn it off sometimes, especially if I'm doing demos, because it just takes up less space in edit mode. Okay. I also have dedicated stacks for that. So there's actually a size chart. It's the only thing the stack does is have a size chart. So you can kind of put that wherever you want. I kind of use that with shelf a little bit. I'm not going to go into that right now. Okay. Don't want to go down those rabbit holes. Okay. So now we're down to our groups inside site styles. And we have features, font and text, general, and components. There are a lot of swatches in Foundation, and I tried to logically group these in some sort of way so that we can find them a little bit easier. So features. These are these necessarily aren't ways of styling your site. It's this is a way of adding features to Foundation 6. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of these. Some of them are third-party stacks, so all of these down here are all third-party stuff, such as PageSafe and Total CMS and PWA and Agent and stuff like that. Okay, but other things are like, do you want to have Font Awesome 5 support? Font Awesome 4 support? Do you want to have a site preloader? There's a bunch of other things here that aren't necessarily style related, but since Site Styles is kind of like our central hub for Foundation, it made sense to give you the ability to add new features to Foundation via this dropdown. Okay, now the rest of these three areas are 100% for adding features to style our content, our layouts, our websites. And I think it's pretty simple. So this top one is font and text. Obviously, these are going to be swatches related to styling our text. So now if you don't own Font Pro, this will, Font Pro is another product of mine. You'll see less things in here. So basically all these ones that have the word pro at the end are from my Font Pro stacks, and you'll have those. They're just, that gives us the ability to have load in fonts from external services, and the Font Pro styles stack has a little bit extra. Okay, but let's go over some of the defaults here in a little bit. But just want to show you that these are all text and font related settings. Now you might be wondering, what's the difference between a font and a text? Okay, well, text is your actual words on the page, and the font is the font that's applied to it, right? So it's the style of the letters, right? So we need to load our fonts on the page, and then we can style our text to be a color or a size and things of that nature. Okay, next is general. And these are generic stacks that can be applied to anything, virtually anything. I'm sure there's some things maybe that don't make sense here and there, but for the most part, all of the swatches that you see within general are going to be settings that it can be applied to most things. They're generic. They're generic styles that can be applied to virtually anything. Now you might see some of these have like a little plus at the end of the name. Those are swatches that you get if you purchase the Swatch pack. Okay, I have an additional Swatch pack on top of the Foundation 6 product that has a bunch of new styles that are kind of like help you take some things to the next level. Okay. Lastly, and I think this one confuses the most people, is components. And these are going to be swatches that are very specific to a thing. Okay. For example, here's a swatch for Font Awesome 5 icons. Okay. This swatch is very specific to just Font Awesome 5. It doesn't work on headers. It doesn't work on anything else. It just works on Font Awesome 5. Okay. There is a swatch for gutters. It allows you to override the gutters for a particular layout stack. So let's say I have a 2-column. Now I want to have that one to have custom gutters. Now, again, in site styles, you can set your default gutter size, but if you want to override that for a particular layout, you can using a gutter swatch. But again, that is something that isn't generalized. It can only be used on Foundation 6 columns, right? So it's something that is very specific. Other things are menu styles. Obviously, this is a swatch that is made specifically for a Foundation 6 menu. You can't apply it to anything else. Other things you notice, we had component colors I showed you earlier. Okay, this is something that is specific to a particular item. Another one that confuses some people is there is a top bar styles, right? So I know top bar looks very simple, and this gets a lot of people, okay? Because they're like, oh, I just want to I want to change the background of top bar, so I'm going to go ahead and put in a background swatch. And it's possible to use a background swatch on top bar if you know what you're doing. But the top bar style stack just makes it a little bit easier. It has everything that you need in the swatch. It's just baked in. Okay, so now some people are like, how do I know? How do I know when I use a general one or when I use a component one? Well, basically, you need to know the tools in your toolbox. Okay. So that's just that's just a learning curve. Okay. If you didn't notice that there was a top bar styles in here, or there's an SVG swatch, or there's, the menu styles in here. Yeah, you need to know your tools. I try my best to make things as simple as possible. My camera's not working. Oh, there we go. But, this one's on you. Okay. And on me as well. As a user, we all need to learn our tools that we have. You spent $100 or $150, depending on what bundle you got on Foundation. Okay. And you probably bought a bunch more stacks, right? Play around with them, right? Look at what's here. Learning our tools is very beneficial. Okay. Knowing what they do. And that's probably why you're here on the live stream, right? So I'm teaching you the tools. Okay. So, yeah, the top bar styles thing, that one in particular, I see that probably every couple months. Someone will be like, how do I style top bar? And I'm like, there's a top bar swatch, right? And you would know that just by looking. And once you know, right? But there you go. Learn your tools. And in here, there are also a bunch of third-party swatches. So like I tend to include swatches with my stacks. So like if you have Columnist or Magnifico or my filter stack or Drift or whatever, Quick Flip, right? It comes with a swatch that you can then use outside of the stack itself. So if any of my stacks ship with a swatch, you will see it here inside the components list. What is the difference between font color and text color, and when do you use which one? That is a great question. Okay. First off, okay, to address that question, I will answer it here, but I want to show you. I closed my Safari window. I don't want to override my chat again. A new window. There we go. All right. We're going to go to foundationstacks.com demo. Okay. Hopefully you are all aware of this website. Okay. Is the Foundation 6 demo, and it is a very good resource. Okay. Because it has all of the various, there are a ton of videos on Foundation 6. I've done a bunch of live streams, and there are a bunch of short shorter form videos as well. So if you notice here on the sidebar, the I've broken out, as you're probably aware, my stacks into groups. There's layouts and navigation and text content and image and video. Well, guess what? That same exact hierarchy is over here. Site styles, layouts, navigation, text content, image and media. It's the same. Okay, I did that on purpose. So if we were to go over to text content, okay, and obviously there's all kinds of demos on things we can do with text, okay, but every single page here, the very last section is video tutorials. And there is a video here for styling text. Okay. I think it's like a 5-minute video. And that video will answer your question. Okay. I will go over that right now. Okay. But if you want to watch that video, I'm pretty sure I go over it. I might miss some things today. Maybe I didn't think about something, or maybe I think about something today that's not in that video. But regardless, after this, you should go watch this video. Okay. Even if I show you right now. Okay, because yeah, repetition is king. Okay, but the reason I point that out is a lot of these questions are answered in short form videos on this web page. Okay, so if we go to navigation, okay, and we go down to video tutorials, there is a video tutorial on the menu builder on how to style your menus. On top bar, okay, we talked about the top bar swatch. Well, guess what? If you're somewhere were to go to watch a video on how to use top bar, there's a video on top bar. Okay. So all these videos, I try to make sure that I keep, if I release a new video, it should be here and categorized for the particular section. Right. So this video, because there are so many foundation videos out there and live streams, this one is very good because it categorizes them. Now I actually have these are just playlists on YouTube. So if you go to my YouTube channel, there's playlists for all these as well, but I also have a playlist for every single product. So there's like hundreds of playlists. So I understand, there's a lot of videos to sift through, but for Foundation 6, yeah, here on the product page, every single one of these, if we go to animation, we go to the video tutorials. There's video tutorials on all of this. So if you're struggling on how to use the toggler swatch, there you go. There's a short form video on that. Okay, so make sure you check out all the videos on the foundation, and that is foundationstacks.com. And if you can't remember, if we go to the homepage, there is a demos and docs link, and that takes us to this. Okay, and that sidebar over here is everything. Okay, all right. So let's dive in to some swatches and talk about the difference between font and text colors. Okay. So if you notice here, we have font colors or font colors and a text color. Okay. I'll agree. I probably shouldn't have called this font color, but I already had a swatch called text colors, and it was like, well, I can't call it this other one text colors, so I call it font color. Okay. But let's talk about what that is. So we kind of saw this text colors earlier. Okay. And here, let me simplify this a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and remove some of these classes on here so we have just a text. Okay. So we saw this text colors, right? It's the same stuff that is baked into site styles. Okay. Now in site styles, we have our default text colors as well as alt. Okay. Now, just to replicate what alt is, it's basically just a text color swatch with a class set to alt. Okay. And what this does, all right, but let's show you an example. Let's do let's call this Livestream. Okay. Now I'll go into the anatomy of a swatch. Man, we're running really low on time. Just keep for now, I'm gonna stick to classes. Okay. There are elements in CSS, but for now, we're gonna stick into classes. And so here I'm gonna give it a class of Livestream. And let's go ahead and change some of these colors. Let's just make them various shades of purple. So let's do that. And let's just do text as something else. we'll do like a light blue. Oh, yeah, we'll do a darker blue. All right. So we're going to have kind of a pink header and blue text. Oh boy, that is going to be lovely. Okay. But so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go into this container, or you can do it on the text stack as well. I'm just going to give it the Livestream class. Okay. What you'll notice there is all of the text within it now has that color. Okay. So the text color swatch, what it does is it allows you to define, basically you put a class on something and all the text inside of that will get the color. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and let's add in a header stack inside of this container. Okay. Oh wait, I put it inside here. Let's put it on the container. Okay. So if you notice, this container has a class of Livestream. Now all the headers. Now if I move this header outside, it no longer has that color. It's going to inherit from the default color that's in site styles. Okay. But now that I've applied this text colors to this container, all of the headers will be purple or pink, and the text will be this blue color, right? And we could change all the others if we wanted links, but I think you get the gist, right? It allows you to style all the text colors within a layout, just like we did alt. Remember when I did that alt class? It changed all of the text within a container, within a layout. Okay. Now, what happens if I go to this header, okay, and I put in a live stream? Okay, that works as well. Right. So here I created this text colors, and I said all headers that are within Livestream will be pink. So, but I only added that class just to that header, right? And it took that value. All right. So that's text colors. What is the font color swatch? What does that do? Okay. This allows us to define a color for a specific thing. Okay. All right. Let's just call this my color. Okay. And let's give it something crazy. Let's give it like a dark turquoise. Okay. Now I'm going to take my color. Okay. And I'm going to put it on this container. Now you might think, oh yeah, I have this font color and I have a container or even this text stack. Okay. And I'm going to put in my color. And I didn't get it. But if I put it on the header and put my color, that worked. What the heck? Why did that work? How come when I put my color on text, it doesn't work, but when I put it on a header, it does work? What is going on? Okay. Essentially what's going on is the text stack, while it can contain a large amount of text. It isn't just a piece of text. It is a header and a paragraph and a bullet list. Okay. Essentially, it's like having a header inside of a container. There's a container built into the text stack that you're not aware of. Okay. And you can't apply a single color to a container, right? You need to apply it to a particular piece of text natively, if that makes any sense. Maybe here, let's go ahead and I overrode my stupid chat again. Thinking I have to do that in next time. And I can't go back. Why can't you go back in a pop-up window? How freaking retarded is that? Hold on. Let's open up Google Chrome. All right. I'll bring up the chat back in a little bit. All right. Give me a second here. If you're typing in the chat, just give me a minute. I'll bring it back up. Okay. All right. Thanks, Discord. I didn't want to open you. Let's close Discord. That was an accident. And I don't need that either. Okay. So let's look at this. Here I have a piece of text that has the color that we wanted. And then I have this, which isn't the color I wanted. Okay. Now we're going to have to get a little scary here. We're going to have to look at a little bit of code so that I can show you what's going on under the hood. Okay. All right. Oh, we're probably going to want that. Let's make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see. All right. First off, okay. Here is my header, right? If you notice here, it's right here. Let's make that a little bit bigger, even bigger. Okay. H3, and if we see, we have the class is set to my color. That was the class that I set in my swatch. Okay. And if we see in the styles, I have my color. The color is set to this color here. Cool. Right? Very cool. Now, if we look further down, remember how I said a text stack is more than just the text you add to it, right? Because it can contain all kinds of different, it can contain multiple paragraphs. It can contain all kinds of stuff, right? So here we have a div, which is essentially a container, a box that has a class of my color. And if we expand that, we'll see inside of there, I have an H3, and then I have a paragraph, and then I have a bullet list. Okay. Now let's just look at this H3. Now in here, we'll notice that if we look at the inspector, the color is set via some styles from site styles. Okay. There's no mention of this color here because color in CSS isn't an inheritable property. It doesn't inherit from its parent. The color of a header doesn't inherit from a container. Okay. It has to be applied specifically to that element. And when you added this font color swatch, okay, we created a color, and that color has to be assigned to a bit of text. But when we add that to a text container, it doesn't get applied to that text. It gets applied to something else, right? It gets applied to the container. So the solution here, there are many ways to skin this cat. Okay. That's a saying in the US, by the way, that if you're internationally, that might sound weird. Every time I say that, I think, oh, I probably should not have said that. But hold on, let me get that chat back up because I want to make sure I'm answering all of your questions here. Pop out chat. Okay. All right, good. There, I got my chat window now in Chrome so that when I preview in Safari, it's not going to override my chat. Okay. So the solution here is, if you wanted to apply text colors to a text stack, use the text color swatch. Another thing is there are things called pseudostates where you could be like apply this to all child elements. And basically what that will do is that'll be like apply my color to everything inside of it now, right? So if we were to preview this now, there we go. Now that is working, okay? Because we're applying in that swatch. This is kind of getting a little advanced. I said we're going back to the basics, and this is kind of going a little advanced, right? But basically, I'm saying find something that it has the class of my color, and then apply this color to everything inside of it. Okay. Okay. So that was a good question. I am not going to do a deep dive into every single swatch. We'd be here for a week. Okay. I think you can understand mostly what a lot of these things are for. Obviously, you have an aspect ratio, which will lock your thing into a container into a particular aspect ratio. We have backgrounds and properties and borders, right? Height, margin, opacity. Again, there's a lot of things here. Let's talk about the anatomy of a swatch. We saw some of it here, okay? You'll notice that for most swatches, the top probably 3 sections of a swatch are pretty much identical, okay? Like here, If we look at this text items or this font color, let's go ahead and add like a background color swatch. Okay. You'll notice that this section, and this section, the top 3 sections in a swatch, doesn't matter what swatch you're in, most of the time, not all, there are some exceptions to this rule, but most of them are all identical. The settings there will be the same. So let's talk about what those settings are so we know how to use them. You've seen me already today add in a class, okay? And hopefully by now, you know that you could just take that class and add it to a class setting in any stack, and that those styles from that swatch will get applied to that class. Okay, so for example here, I had Livestream. I have these colors here. I'm going to go ahead and copy that Livestream class, and we're going to paste it into this text box, and those styles got applied. Now, I think what some people don't realize is you can actually use the same class across multiple swatches. So I can then go, let's say in this background swatch, I add a class of Livestream. And then down here, I want to change a background color. So let's say I want to make this background color a light blue. Okay. I don't think that's a beautiful color. Obviously, it's just something that I want to show off, right? So you can easily see it. So now when I add the class of Livestream to anything, okay, let's go ahead and add another text stack just so it's, okay. Here we have a text stack, okay. This one has the Livestream class. Whenever I add the Livestream class to anything, the text colors are going to be that, and the background color is going to be blue. So if I wanted this one to look the same as that, well, guess what? I'm just going to go ahead and add the Livestream class to it. And now it looks the same. Now, obviously, we then go, okay, well, whenever I need to add padding to that too. So we're going to go ahead and add padding. And whenever I add the Livestream class, I also want to have a padding of 32 pixels. And there we go. Everything that has the Livestream class now is a background color of blue, a padding of 32 pixels, and text colors set to these colors. Right? So you can easily start building your styles on top of each other. You can do a lot without ever exploring into elements or the CSS swatch selectors. Classes are super powerful. Okay? And you can apply more than one class to something. Okay? For example, let's just go ahead and add in a border swatch. Okay. And I want to call this important. Okay. Maybe we'll stick away from that word. Let's call it standout, or something like that. Okay. Or you can do it something explicit. We could be like, big border. Whenever I add a big border class to something, we want to have the color is going to be, let's do something obnoxious like a red. Okay. And then I want the size to be, I want it to be like 10 pixels. And I want the style to be on all sides. I want it to be dashed. Okay. All right, here, we'll call this dashed. Whoops, what did I do there? Let's call this dashed. Okay. So now, whenever I add anything with the dashed class, it's going to get this border. Okay. And let's say this one, remember, this is my Livestream. I have a Livestream class. I can go in here and I can put a space and a second class in there. And there we go. This one now has this border. This one doesn't because I didn't add the dashed class, but it still gets all the other styles from the other classes that I applied to it. Okay. So you can start building styles on top of each other and kind of merging them and creating these utilities, your own utility classes. Okay. So, that's all well and good. But what are these other buttons, Joe? Okay. This element option So when you don't have a class, there are some things you can't add a class to, okay? Such as some foundation components, or maybe you want to style all of a particular thing, right? Okay, this makes it very useful. So let's say if you click on here, you can style all bullet lists. So maybe you want to apply a particular style to all bullet lists on your page. There you go. Let's say you want to do a particular style on all images on your page, right? These are ways to kind of target all of a particular element on your page. So let's say on all my images, I wanted to have a 5-pixel white border around them, right? Super easy. One swatch. All images, border, white pixel, 5 pixels, white, solid. Done. Right? Then maybe you add a shadow swatch and you can apply that to all images, and you can be like, shadow, this cool shadow, right? So then you can have the, if you wanted that look for all images on your page, there you go. Okay? Pretty simple. And there's a lot of other things in here. Like you can do all buttons, all menu items. There's all kinds of stuff in here. Tables, sliders. Every single Foundation 6 component is in here, so you can target all of that particular thing, or even sub things within it, like, tabs, or, active tabs, light boxes, cards, accordions. You can target the accordion title. You can target the accordion tile when it's opened. You can target the accordion indicator. So there's all kinds of stuff that if you don't know exactly, if you can't target something with a class, you probably have the ability to target with these elements. Okay. And at the bottom, you'll notice I added a ton of total CMS in here as well. Since I know a lot of us are total CMS users, you can easily target various total CMS things here as well. So cool. Okay. And this last bit is CSS. That means you're a pro. We're not going to dive into this. You know how to do your own CSS selectors, and you're just going to cowboy it out and put it in there. Okay. We're not going to go over that at all today. Okay. So that deals with the Swatch selectors. Again, I think most of the time class is going to work great, but elements is super useful sometimes. Next up, let's do parent class. This is super powerful as well, and it gives us a little bit more flexibility determining our layouts. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let's still use this live stream construct here. So here I have two containers, and they both contain this live stream. Okay, and I'm going to call this container, I'm just going to give it a class of layout top. Okay, and this container down here, we're going to give it a class of layout bottom. Okay. So what if I wanted to do something special for whenever I like my default style for live stream, but let's say when live stream is inside of a layout bottom, I want to change it up a little bit, right? Let's say I want to add in a different background. Okay. So let's go ahead and create a different background. And what I'm going to do is when the parent class for live stream is layout dash bottom, okay, instead of this color blue, I want to do a different color blue. Okay. Or let's do like a green. And there we go. So now I have live stream and live stream. Now the text colors are identical, but because this one is inside of a layout bottom, I can create a rule that says when my live stream class is inside of layout bottom, do this instead, basically, right? Super powerful. And you can do that all kinds of things. So for example, remember how earlier on, I said we can target, let's say inside, we can target all images. Well, let's say you wanted to target all images within a particular container, right? You could easily use parent class with all images, and then that way you could target all images within a particular container, right? Super powerful. Next is pseudo state. And what is this? Now, this has actually grown. If you're familiar with CSS, initially this really only contained pseudo state elements, such as things. Pseudo state is like when you hover over an element, or if an element is selected, like a form element is selected, right? Or if it's within focus. A lot of these have to do with form fields. A lot of pseudo states are for forms. Okay, so focus. If focus means the keyboard is active on that thing, right? Or you tabbed through a thing and it's focused. Okay. If a form field is disabled, if a form field is optional, if a form field is read only, if a form field is required, there's a lot of these things. If it's checked, if it's not checked, if a placeholder is shown, all kinds of stuff. Okay. But I've also added things which technically are not pseudo states. If you are familiar with CSS, such as child elements and all descendants. Okay, we saw the child elements thing earlier. It just worked adding that into the pseudo state element. If you are a CSS connoisseur, you're probably like, Joe, that's not a pseudo element. I know. Okay. I didn't need another setting. Okay. It just worked well in this setting. Okay. So put your britches back on. Okay. So there are some things here that aren't necessarily pseudo states, but it just kind of works well. Maybe I should change the name of this, maybe eventually, and I'll do that. But right now, there we go. Okay. Other things, we have pseudo elements. I'm pretty sure I have a video on pseudo elements. It's kind of a complex topic. I'm not going to go over it right now. But yes, you can target before and after pseudo elements, and also hover before and hover after, right? Okay. So there we go. Next up, besides pseudo state, I think most of the things you're going to use in pseudo state. Let me just tell you the things that you probably use, at least the ones that I use the most. I do use child elements and all descendants. What's the difference between that? Okay. I should point that out. Child descendants mean the image. Let's say we have this container here, and I have an image inside of that container. The child elements says it has to be a direct child of that particular thing, right? Whereas all descendants means it could be anywhere inside of that layout. So I could have a container in a container in a container, and that container has an image. Then that's what you might want. Okay. So there's slight differences between child elements and all descendants. Again, child has to be a direct descendant of that particular class or selector. Okay. Okay. Next, so I think child descendants or all descendants is useful. And next up is hover. I think just having styles based on a hover state, super useful. You can change the background based on hover. You can change your border color. You don't want to change padding and margins because you're on hover, things are going to shift around, and that's not too nice, right? But like text colors or link colors and background colors and other things, maybe opacity. Opacity is a good one, right? Okay, it's really cool. So yeah, changing state based on hover is super useful. Those three are the most that I use inside here. Okay. I don't use much of I use pseudo state every now and then, but most of the time I'm using child elements and hover in here. Everything else I don't use much of. Media query. So you can have a style specifically for media queries, and it's not just the size of your browser. So you can do dark mode here. Okay. So let's say you wanted to change the color of your text when someone has dark mode enabled. There you go. Foundation 6 has full dark mode support. Okay. So you can actually do a whole site where by default it's light mode. If someone has dark mode enabled, your entire site colors can change. Totally possible. Just create swatches that use dark mode. And if you like, maybe that could be an interesting live stream. If you'd like to see a live stream on how to support dark mode, let me know and we can do that. Okay. Probably a little out of scope since we're already over the time right now. But yeah, maybe in the future we can do one on dark mode. You can do things such as touch device portrait mode. So you can style things if a phone is in portrait mode, right? There you go. You can style things for print. So if someone hits print, you can actually custom style things when they're printed. Okay. I also have a printer stack that has even more, but yeah, there you go for print. And then we also have, you know, all of our various sizes, small, medium, large, and even you can target retina. Okay. But the cool thing here in media query is, I know a lot of people aren't aware, is dark mode. Okay. So you can target dark mode specifically. So pretty cool. Here, if you want to see here, Lara, let's play around with. I have dark mode on my machine, if you didn't notice, right? So let's say I'm going to do live stream, and we're going to do live stream dark mode. Okay, we're going to change these colors, and when it's dark mode, we're going to do a different color. Here, let's do we'll do white. Okay, I don't know if that's probably not going to look good. Whatever. Yeah, that looks really bad. Here, we'll change it to this aqua color. And then the headers will change to, here's darker red. Okay, whatever. All right. That's pretty bad. Well, it's preview. Okay. And we'll notice now, because my machine is in dark mode, all right, and here, I think this should be fine. I'm going to go ahead and change my system settings. You can do it inside Safari, like you can swap it out. But here, I'm going to change my Mac to go to light mode really quick. Okay, let's go ahead and swap to light mode. Okay. And if you noticed, the color of this text changed because I'm no longer in dark mode. Let's go back to dark mode. The color of that text changed. Okay. And that's because my Mac is in dark mode, and I've customized my website colors for dark mode. Hopefully you can see those. That color changes weren't as drastic as I was hoping. But there you go. Okay. Let me see if there's any more questions that I've missed. I think we've kind of gone over a lot of the basics. Okay. Again, we reviewed how these. I didn't review this note setting. This note setting is purely 100% for you to help you document what you've used things for. Okay. And then below that notes is always just the settings for that particular swatch. Right. Hopefully, most of these swatches should be pretty apparent. If they aren't, all of them are documented on the Foundation 6 demo page, and you can see examples of them. You can even download that project file that built that site and see exactly what everything is. Okay, so I try to give you a peek behind the curtain. I have no secrets here. The stuff, well, I was about to say it's not rocket science, right? But I understand it's challenging depending on your skill level, okay? But yeah, I'm totally open to helping out and giving answers. Go on the community. There's a lot of people here that are here to help you understand, okay? But yeah, a lot of this is pretty simple. I think some people try to overcomplicate it themselves, okay? And hopefully today helped you out a little bit. Let me go in the chat. Let's see if there's anything. Nope, this isn't a new hat. I've actually had this. I actually bought this hat in Austin, Texas, when I went to go visit Isaiah a long time ago now. I think that was like 8 years ago now, something like that. That was a long time ago. Time flies. Okay. We talked about the difference between site styles with stacks on the page. I see drift timeline in site styles, and then I see it again below your demo file in Drift Pro RW. I'm guessing that has to do with order of execution. So I have drift here purely as a convenience. Okay. You can add it. It's the same as, so if I add drift here, I can add it to the page. This and this are the same exact stack, actually. Okay. It's just I thought it made sense having it in site styles because technically drift timeline doesn't have any content. There's no content associated with drift, right? It's just helping you animate things that are on the page. So I thought it made sense giving you the ability to add it into site styles. Okay. There is no difference between it and this stack that's in your library, though. Okay. So I see Peter says he wants a dark mode. Dark mode using a toggle. Yes, also possible. You can have dark mode using a toggle as well. So it's a little bit more involved because you have to end up toggling a class on something. but totally doable. Would a pen be better than notes? Great one, Scott. So one stack actually I planned on talking about today and I didn't, is you'll notice that there is a stack inside all of these called pen. Pen is currently not included with Foundation. It is a part of my free starter pack. If you don't have that, get it. It's free, okay? And it contains this awesome stack called Pen. And Pen allows you to, one of the things that Pen can do, okay, is allows you to organize inside site styles. So for example, let's say I wanted to take all my live stream styles and I wanted to, let's say all of these were part of live stream, right? And I can just chuck them in here. Oops, that didn't work. There we go, right? So now I have all of my styles for live stream, and then I can add a note here, and I can say live stream styles for blah 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 blah. Okay, whatever, right? And you can add your notes in here, and then yeah, you can collapse that pen, and you can kind of have all your styles for that live stream class kind of organized inside Pen. So Pen is a great, very powerful way to add notes for yourself and kind of organize your project files. I'm not going to go into all the other benefits of Pen today, but yes, Pen is a great way to organize swatches. Okay, thanks, Scott. Yes, so someone noticed if you notice here, I kind of added a cool feature. So by default, when Pen isn't selected, you can see all the swatches here, but when you click it, it basically expands all of those so you can kind of see the previews of all of those swatches. So that's kind of a cool feature of Pen. When you select it, it automatically expands out all the swatches inside of it. So pretty slick feature there. Okay. One thing I also didn't, I said I was going to talk about is the swatches stack. Okay. So Pen is a great way to organize swatches. Let me just talk quickly about how I recommend organizing your styles a little bit. Okay. I'm going to bring up, I did a full live stream of video. It's on the Foundation 6 demo site where I showed you, I built out this entire web page. Okay. I built it out like from scratch. I showed you how I did everything. Okay. And one of the things I did in here, which is a workflow that I liked, okay, is that up at the top, I have my site styles partial, okay, because normally you are going to partial site styles so that it's on every single page, okay, on your site, because you want your styles to be uniform so you can leverage them across all of your web pages, right? Another benefit of Foundation and site styles is because you can apply those styles and keep them in sync across all your pages. So in here, I have, you'll notice that there aren't many styles here. The styles that I add to site styles are generic. They're ones that I want to use across multiple pages. Okay. So those are the swatches that I store inside of site styles. Now, what you'll also notice is, if we open up this web page, you'll see that this particular web page, it kind of has defined sections, right? A lot of times we design our sites in various sections. So here, like here's the header section, and then I kind of have this section here. Then we scroll down. This is kind of another section, and then we have this horizon, which is another section, right? So I kind of build a website in sections. And what I will do is, above each section that I build, I will add in a swatches stack. That's this stack right here. Okay. And inside there, this is all the swatches that are specific to just that section. And that's it. Okay. I don't use any of these swatches anywhere else except in that section. If they're not used in that section, they're used in multiple places, it goes into site styles. Okay. So that's a nice little tip for you, so you can learn, how I like to organize things. You know, that's just the workflow that you don't have to do this. This is all strategy, and we learn as we go. And this is just something that's kind of stuck with me. It's something that I've liked, where I will here's the getting started section, and here's swatches just for that section. Okay. So there we go. And if you didn't know it, I saw someone mention they didn't know what shelf was. Shelf allows you, if you see here, I have the sizing chart always available, and my site styles partial always available to double click and go into the partial editor. Doesn't matter where I am in the page, it's always right there. And that's shelf. Okay. You can have it on the top or the bottom. There we go. Okay. A little outside of the scope of today, but there we go. Okay. Okay. I think that's it for today, guys. I think hopefully you guys got some benefit. I know I didn't, go over all of these swatches. Again, that would take me forever, right, to teach you every single swatch. But get to know your tools. Okay. It's not hard. A background swatch, you can see background have a lot of options. I'll give you that, right? But it's pretty much if you want color, or do you want images, or do you want a warehouse image, CSS. Yeah, you can also do swatches, like you can assign it a swatch color, but okay. Just play around. I think a lot of these, the names of these are pretty self-explanatory what they will do. If you don't know what they do, check out the demo, the Foundation 6 demo site. Okay. Check out the demos, see what things do. Okay. Every single one of these swatches is categorized, so you can kind of see what it does, and there's explanations there. And hopefully a lot of them have dedicated videos as well at the bottom of the page. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed today. Hope I didn't jump around too terribly much and confuse you. Yeah, hopefully there is a hangout every Friday. Oh, the man, I didn't get questions available ready today. I was going to do it, and then I had issues with the live stream setup, and I didn't want to have any issues, so I fixed that instead of coming up with a couple questions. Okay. Let's think. Put my thinking cap on here. Let's put my thinking cap on here. I got my here. There's a different hat on. What are we going to think about today? Here's a guess. Hold on. Let me get the answer. 1 second. Let me set. Okay. Yes, this is a good question. This is a fun one. Hey, we're just gonna do one question today. Now, I do have to admit, this is these questions. I like the Q&As, but I know that sometimes people are a little bit behind. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe when we're ready to get in the Q&A section, you just refresh your browser so that you like get the latest feed. So if you want to win, okay, make sure you're on the latest, because sometimes you're like 10 seconds behind, and other people might answer before you, and you lost out. Nothing I can do about that. Okay. Let me get to this answer really quick. Oh, wow. Interesting. I didn't even know that answer. Okay, cool. All right, here we go. You guys ready? Drum roll. Okay. So, Foundation 6 comes with more than just, it's not a stack, right? In your file system in Finder, it looks like one stack, okay? Now this doesn't include, not including the swatch pack, okay? How many stacks are inside Foundation 6. So that means every single swatch, every little child stack. How many stacks does it take to build Foundation 6? 110. Nope. Close. Not really that close, actually, to be honest with you. You're actually quite far off. Thanks for the shout out, Jason. Nope. No, you can't do 120 plus. No. I'll get this. You have to be within 5. You have to be within 5. Nope. So close. Nope. Man. So close. So far, Mr. Workman. He didn't even have any inside knowledge, but Mr. Workman was the closest. Man, I love this. This is actually so entertaining for me, seeing all these numbers, random numbers, and just incrementing by one at a time. It's hilarious. Man, I'm waiting. Man. Okay. Up. Mr. Workman wins. Okay. Now, since he's family, we'll do it. We'll do another one. So the answer is 194. There are 194 stacks inside Foundation 6. That doesn't include the swatch pack. Okay. Yes, so he got it now. 194, right on the button. Good job. Okay, now how about it? Now in the swatch pack here? Okay, let's do this one. How many stacks are in the swatch pack? That's actually probably a little easier. That's a lot smaller. Last question. Then we'll call it a day. For $10. You got to be within 5. I'll let you be within 5. Boom, Gaston wins. He is at 36. There's 34. So good job, Gaston. Sweet. Cool, guys. I appreciate it. I hope you had some fun today. And yeah, it's been fun. I enjoy these. They're a lot of, and now I have to get my butt working on some bento videos this afternoon because I got to get that out the door. Son turns 21 on Friday, and I got to get this out before he turns 21. So cool. Thanks everybody. Hope to Friday hang out, be there, be square. I just mentioned my son turns 21 on Friday. Not sure how the schedule's working on that, so I'll probably be there maybe for a little bit. Maybe I'll pop my head in. I don't know my schedule on Friday yet at this point. So, yeah, but everyone else will be there. There'll be tons of people from all over the world. Super fun hangouts. Be there or be square. It's one of the best things ever. And if you're still here, Stack Summit. Yeah, I need to, I'm going to be getting on. I have a lot of the speakers all lined up. We're ironing out topics, April 5th to the 7th. Hopefully we'll see you there. Get your ticket now. Go to stackssummit.com And yeah, we'll see you there April 5th to 7th. Cool. Take care, everyone. Have a great, where is the summit? Oh, when is the summit? April 5th to April 7th. 100% online. So you can enjoy it from the comfort of your own home or office, wherever you see fit. Great child learning, bring your kids and, they can learn some cool stuff. There you go. Cool, everyone. Take care. Have a great rest of your day and go out there and make your websites great. Bye, everyone.